The day right after the house was repaired, Izuku went to the hospital. Thankfully this time, it wasn't for himself. Rather, he was here for someone else. "Izuku buddy, glad you're here," Nami said as she met Izuku in the halls of the hospital, the two of them walking down it with DOC agents on both sides of them, escorting them down. "Early as usual. I'm surprised you're here early," Izuku replied. "Actually, I'm late. The time I'm required to be here, and the time you're supposed to be here, are very different." Nami sighed. "Sometimes, very rarely, it pays to be you, metaphorically speaking that is, in terms of cash it always pays to be you. What's the status on the girl?" Izuku asked, getting straight to the point. "Well, she woke up in a hospital, no memory of who she was, surrounded by armed guards, and was constantly assaulted by questions she didn't have the answer to and that implied not so nice things," Nami explained. "Take a guess at her status." Izuku sighed. "Have you at least confirmed she's not dangerous?" "Yeah, mostly," Nami answered. "She doesn't want to hurt anyone if that's what you're worried about, but she's weak, scared, and has no idea how to use her quirk, so if she freaks out, she might accidentally break a few bones." Izuku gave an even deeper sigh. "But we're sure she doesn't want to kill me? Like I told you, if you die we're fucked. So naturally, we made sure that her amnesia was the real deal, and that she had no intention of harming you before we'd ever let you two meet face to face." Nami reassured him. "And with that cloak, you'll be fine." "That's not as reassuring as you think it is." Izuku shook his head. Soon enough, the two arrived at a room with two armed guards. Izuku took a deep breath. "Well, let's just hope for the best." With that, Izuku entered the room. Despite the guards outside, inside was just a fairly standard hospital room. Inside on the bed, was Nise herself, looking at Izuku with a terrified expression. For a few seconds, there was silence, as Izuku slowly entered the room, getting a bit closer to her hospital bed, while he waited for her to ask questions that never came. After almost a minute, Izuku realized the girl was waiting for him to speak. So he put on his friendliest smile and spoke in his warmest voice. "Hello there, I am Director Midoriya Izuku, head of the Midoriya Foundation. But you can call me Izuku, or Midoriya. Or whatever you'd like really. It's pleasure to meet you." "Me, Doriya," Nose repeated in a timid voice. I heard that name. They said they would send me to you, is that bad?" No, it's a good thing. You see, I run a facility for children who are special." Izuku chose his words carefully. "I've heard you had some issues with your quirk." The girl looked away, fear and guilt reflecting in her eyes, confirming Izuku's statement. "Well, I'm here to help you with that," Izuku explained to her. "You'll be taken out of this place and to my home, where I'll take care of you and help you learn to control your quirk, so you don't accidentally hurt anyone." Nise looked at him, slightly less fearfully now. "You're going to take care of me?" Izuku nodded. "That's right, and you'll be surrounded by other wonderful kids, just like you. And other people who will help and protect you." Nise didn't respond. Instead, she looked down and adopted a thoughtful expression, as well as looking quite confused. Izuku took on a sympathetic look. "I understand this must be overwhelming. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them." The girl immediately looked back up at him, hope welling in her desperate eyes. "Really? Really?" Izuku nodded. Nise looked relieved and took a few seconds to get her thoughts together. "Who am I? What happened to me? Where are my dash? Stop asking questions." Smack. "Ah!" Nise cried, as suddenly one of her vectors smacked her in the face. "Nise?" Izuku rushed forward and looked at her left cheek, which was now red. "What happened? Did you lose control of your quirk again?" Did you hear that?" Nise asked him, looking around wondering where that voice came from. "Hear what?" Izuku asked, looking confused. He looked around as well, but no one was there but them. A minute of silence passed before Nise concluded that no one was around them. She looked back up at Izuku. "Who am I? What happened to me? Where are my parents?" "Ah, yes, of course you'd ask that." Izuku sighed, as he stepped back and tried to think of a way to explain things without giving away too much. "Was I a bad person?" Nise asked in a very low voice, once again looking frightened, and clutching her blanket. "Those people keep asking if I want to kill someone. Why would they ask that? Did I hurt someone? Was a bad guy? No." Izuku quickly reassured her, before realizing he had to explain. "Well, you weren't a bad person at least. Unfortunately, we don't know much about your background, but what we do know is that your parents were not good people. They treated you badly, and they forced you to try and hurt me." But before you could get close to me, you ran into one of my sons and got into a fight. He won and hit you a bit too hard in the head, which is how you ended up here without your memory. The girl stayed silent for a while, taking in and processing Izuku's words. I tried to hurt you? You were forced to, Izuku reassured her. From what Fu told me, you didn't really want to. That didn't seem to improve her mood much, and the girl is still looking down at her bed sheets with tears glimmering in the corner of her eyes. Maybe I should have lied a bit more, Izuku thought to himself as he tried to think of a way to reassure her. In the end, he ended up going up to her bed and putting a hand on her head. The girl flinched, but thankfully she didn't push him away, instead just looking up at him curiously. It's not your fault. And besides, that's all in the past now. Your parents can't make you do any more bad things. Izuku told her. You're free to do whatever it is you want to do. Whatever I want to do? Nise repeated, before looking back down at her bed. What I want to do, what do I want to do? I don't know, and it's okay if you don't either, Izuku said with a smile. Because we're going to find out. And I'll do everything I can to help you. Really? Nise asked looking up at Izuku hopefully. Izuku nodded. Really? Nise just kept looking up at him, hope brimming in her eyes, and eventually, tears. Suddenly Izuku felt something touch his back and push him forward, where he then stumbled into Nise's embrace. Thank you. Nise cried as she buried her head into Izuku's stomach. Thank you. SHSSSH. It's okay. Izuku told her, as he started petting her head. Everything's going to be okay. XXXXXXXXXX. Fu was currently once again in the library, enjoying a good book when suddenly his phone started ringing. The undead boy looked down at the phone and saw that it was none other than Izuku calling. Hey, Dad. Fu started as she picked up the call. What's up? Hey Fu, so I'm not gonna be back home tonight, Izuku explained, and Fu could practically hear him wince. Why? Fu asked immediately. You didn't get kidnapped by another child again, did you? No, kind of. Izuku answered, causing Fu to sigh. It's not that I got kidnapped, I just can't leave right now. Just tell me what's going on? Fu asked. Well, do you remember that Nise girl that you defeated a while back? Izuku asked him. Please don't tell us she's coming to live with us? Fu asked. How did you know? Izuku responded, shocked he figured it out so quickly. Why? Fu asked, not even bothering with Izuku's question. She tried to kill you. Sheena is one thing, but that girl really wanted you dead. How can DOC think this is a good idea and, wait a minute, are you with her right now? Yes, Izuku revealed. Fu wanted to slam his head into the table. I could have sworn you said, you'd be taking better care of your health. I can explain, Izuku said quickly. She has amnesia, you see. So she doesn't want to kill me anymore. And what happens if her memory comes back? Fu asked. Are we even sure that she really has amnesia? We are sure that she has amnesia. DOC checked out her head as best they could, so we know she's not faking it. Izuku assured him. And people don't typically get their memories back after losing them. That's mostly just TV stuff. Either way, it's not really like I have much of a choice. Even if I wanted to refuse, I couldn't. She's an OPC, and since she no longer wants to kill me, DOC sees no reason not to give her to me immediately. If I tried to refuse, I'd be going against the agreement I signed, which would have very dire consequences. Fu sighed. Ugh, well, why does this mean you can't leave? As you can imagine, waking up in a hospital surrounded by guards with no memory of anything, and not being able to see her parents, has taken a toll on her mentally, Izuku explained. Right now I'm the only person she really trusts, and well, she doesn't want to leave her side just yet. And she can't go with me until tomorrow, so. Alright, so what do you want me to do? Fu asked. Do you need to tell everyone so they don't freak out when you show up tomorrow? Yeah, sorry to burden you with this, but I can't leave her right now, Izuku said apologetically. I understand. You have that cloak on, right? Fu asked. Of course, Izuku confirmed. Alright, keep your guard up, and be careful, Fu told him before sighing. Hopefully the others take this well. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX him, grabbing both his arms so tight he was sure she'd broken some bones. The boy had gathered everyone in the cafeteria. Of course Moo was nowhere to be seen and Fuku was hiding under a table where she thought no one could see her, and told them the news about Nise. They reacted about as well as you can expect. I just told you, she has amnesia, doesn't want to kill dad anymore, and she's an OPC. Fu explained. So naturally, she'd end up here. There's nothing natural about it at all. Fuku objected. She wanted to kill Izuku, so why is she coming to live here? What if she gets her memories back? Yeah, I may not be the brightest, but I'm pretty sure this is a bad idea, Sori spoke up. I don't want to hear that coming from you of all people, Fu said, glaring at Sori a bit. Look, I don't like this either, but it's what's happening, so get over it. Easy for you to say, some of us react like normal people. Ken scoffed before Nara elbowed him for insensitivity. Ow. What was that for? I also want everyone to remember that not only does she have amnesia, but her original reason for wanting to kill Dad was because her parents mistreated her, and she was desperate for attention. Fu crossed his arms. Let's not pretend some of us here wouldn't have killed someone if you thought it would make your parents love you. TCH, low blow. Ken muttered. She was a victim, a dangerous victim, but still a victim, Fu told everyone. And now, for right now, she's not dangerous anymore. So don't treat her poorly. Easier said than done, Kiba replied, before letting Fu go, and looking over to Sheena in the back of the room, staying silent. Sheena, do you know anything about this girl, Nise? Sheena shook her head. No, Nise probably isn't even her real name. When we're sent on missions we usually used fake names to hide our identities. Great, somehow we know even less about her now, Kiba grunted. I understand your frustration, dear sister, but do calm yourself. Yonda told her. Father no idiot, and he knows what's at stake if he dies. If he didn't think this was safe, then he wouldn't have done it, especially not so soon after his collapse. As a mind reader, I can vouch that he thinks more about his safety than he used to. Kiba didn't look very reassured. Actually, Yonda, Dad gave you orders to keep an eye on her. To be specific, your room is right next to hers. Fu told her. Wonderful, I was intending on doing that anyway, this just makes things easier. Yonda said, sounding very pleased. Everyone else, if you can't trust her for now, just avoid her, but don't make it obvious you're doing so, Fu told them. That's also just, feel free to do whatever it is you were doing. With that Fu walked away, leaving them all to deal with the aftermath of the news. Everyone, I know you must hate the idea of Father being at risk, and so do I, Yonda stated. But as Sheena here has shown, being an MLA assassin wasn't really a choice. Yeah, but Sheena never really tried to kill anyone, Nara argued. This girl, on the other hand, was dead set on killing Izuku. Even I'm not sure about this, Sheena admitted, fidgeting uncomfortably. Well, rest assured, dear siblings, if this girl has a single thought about harming our dear father, I will now. And then Sheena gave them all a very dangerous smile. And she won't ever get the chance to act.